Welcome back, everyone, to Ludus Infinium. Now, before I get too deep into this next part of Horus Rising, I do have to mention something that I did have to research because it was just confusing the shit out of me. So, from what I understood, a Space Marine company in 30k usually ranged about 1,000 men, 1,000 star days. That's not necessarily true. After looking it up, it could range anywhere from approximately around 50 to 1,000. So there were a couple things that had kind of confused me with this part of the book. And for instance, when actually, I don't think it's happened yet. But when someone gets told off for losing as many troops as they did, it's like, well, you lost over half a company, or close to a company, when the remaining amount was 39, I believe. So I was like, that doesn't sound like a company to me. Sounds like less than a company, because that would have to be 80 troops. 80 to 100. And I was under the impression that they were close to 1,000 due to the first part of the book, but there was really nothing to back that up. It was just information I had gotten. So, that being said, let's discuss what's going on with Salt Harvest's murder. Well, him and Lucius are having another one of their little spats. It's Daddy and Mommy arguing at the dinner table again. And Saltarvis wants to take all of their explosives and destroy the trees that they discovered from last episode that had not only Blood Angels and Imperial Army skewered onto it, skewered's a good word, but also Emperor's Children. So he saw that as a high form of disrespect, not just because they were skewered on there, but because the flying form of Megarachnid were cracking open the armor and eating what was inside. So he saw that as disrespectful to the individual Astartes, as well as disrespectful to the legions. So he could not let it stand. And him and Lucius had a bit of a disagreement about how he wanted to take all of the explosives and blow up the 3 trees. Now, this would have a few consequences. One that would come back to bite him in the ass now, and one that would kind of come back to bite him later. And then there's one more that would actually not come back to bite him in the ass. But we'll get to that one when we get to it. So Saul and 2 of his men sneak up to the tree without getting detected, at least without outwardly being detected. Split up the charges into 3, and then bolt back to Lucius's position. Lucius comes over the Vox. Hurry up! No response. Hurry up! Don't look behind you! So now that he had said that, Saul had to look behind him. 2 of the winged Megarachnins had started chasing them. And if you thought Astartes could run quickly before, you can damn sure bet they can run quickly at that point. Much, much quicker. So one of them catches up to Saul and one of his men and has them pinned to the ground. However, around this time, the explosives go off and just throw all three of them. And all I can honestly think is how powerful do these charges have to be? Because the way that I understand explosives work is the concussion does go out, but it kind of goes in like a slight cone. So if you lay flat on the ground after a certain distance, it won't be as bad. These are Astartes in full power armor who had placed these charges, and it threw them back after they had started running and then took off at a breakneck run. So I would love to know like the how powerful it was as a comparison. That's something that I would find actually kind of cool to learn because that would take a lot. So the first two bits of news that came from Tarvitz blowing up these trees is where they couldn't have radio communicate or Vox communications due to the shield storms. The explosion was big enough that only two other groups of Astartes were they saw it and they came to it. One of them was led by the second in command, Antæus. Antæus was kind of neutral towards Tarvitz. He didn't dislike him, but he didn't really like him either. So that's kind of the good news. The bad news is the other one was, of course, led by Lord Commander Eidolon, who did not like it when someone showed him up. Like, for instance, finding a way to reunite the surviving Astartes. That is a good way to piss him off and piss him off quick. So, Eidolon, and that's the first part that kind of bites Tarvitz in the ass, is that Eidolon is still alive. The second part that bites him in the ass a little more thoroughly is that because he did such a good job and he is such a good boy, Eidolon sends him back to the trees that he had exploded and says, "Now, you said there were blood angels over there, yes? Yeah. Do you have any proof? I saw it with my own eyes. Are you calling me a liar?" At this point, Antæus comes to defend him. He's like, "No, your word is good enough." And Eidolon goes, "Yes, mustache twirl, mustache twirl. But the blood angels will want a relic. Go get one. But wouldn't it be better for us to go get one? But wouldn't it be better if... Are you trying to give me tactical advice, your superior?" And it's just one of those things where Tarvitz can't have a good comeback. Now, the funny part at this point is, remember earlier when Lucius picked up the Mega Arachnid limb and started using it as a sword, and he got kind of told off by Tarvitz, saying like, "But it's Xenos." He got a thorough ass chewing from Eidolon because it is Xenos. Duh. And on their long trek back to the new crater they had just made, Lucius pulls his head out of his ass for a millisecond after thoroughly ramming it so far up his ass you couldn't tell if it's where his head was naturally or if he had just gone full circle. what him and Tarvis have a conversation. He says, Eidolon was right. I shouldn't have been using this. Blah blah blah. It was Xenos I was wrong to. Yes, I know. I told you. Yes, and I'm sorry. I should have listened to you. You're always the more level-headed between us, and you're a friend, and I should not have done that. It's something that you can see him eating a bit of the humble pie for like a second, and it's really kind of cool to see because this is. I don't remember seeing this in any other parts of the books with Lucius specifically, but it is kind of cool to see it, especially from him. So when they make it back to their newly formed crater, they find, in the course of 2 hours of digging, 2 Blood Angels pauldrons and 1 Imperial Army cap. At this point, Tarvitz gets asked, "Is this enough?" You know what? Let's just do this for about another hour. Keeps us away from the bullshit. In the next hour, they found 2 things of interest and 1 thing of extreme interest. They found a Blood Angel's helmet with part of a skull still inside of it, and an Emperor's Children breastplate. One of the non-captains also found something of extreme interest. He found a wingless winged Megarachnus, and it was not happy. It had been exploded and cooked, and it was still alive. It was very pissed. So he got startled and almost killed, but stumbled backwards down the little hill, and and Tarvitz ended up killing it. You okay? Yeah, it just startled me. Well, so at this point, they detect a large Megarachnid force moving on Eidolon's group about 500 meters away. And when they radio back, he's like, "Oh, I know, I can see them." And then gets cut off because he gets raided by a massive Megarachnid force. And when asked, should we go back and help them? They're like, well, if they can't do it without the 6 of us, they can't do it. And instead, they choose to stay in that area and discover that the mega arachnids are actually rebuilding the trees with a new form that, what it sounds like to me, looks like the Reavers from StarCraft. But if you don't know what that is, think really big fucking silkworm. And so they end up making the decision that they will instead fight to keep the trees destroyed instead of throw themselves at the overwhelming force that is attacking Eidolon's group. In the course of this battle, 2 more Astartes get killed, so now they're down to 4. Lucius, easily the best in melee combat out of all of them, gets. So, to explain how this works, the big silkworm-like things eat the rubble from the old trees and shit out essentially cement. And some of the other Megarachnids take the cement and rebuild the trees. Well, in killing one of the smaller ones that's carrying it, he dumps all the cement on Lucius, and Lucius gets stuck to the ground. So Tarvitz and the other 2 remaining Astartes stand over him, fighting against this horde that's almost unending. And then they notice what looks like meteors dropping out of the sky. And I like the way it's described in the book. first 2, then 10, then 20. Drop pods. It's just so cool. And gets kind of a garbled transmission over the Vox. You know, is there any? Repeat. Do we have any brothers in there? Yes, for Emperor's sake. And the entire force surrounding them gets almost completely wiped out. One of the Mega Arachnids gets blasted apart with such force that one of its limbs hits Tarvitz right in the face, right in the helmeted face, and knocks him on the ground, stunning him. And when he kind of comes to, there's a gauntlet reaching out from. Not the purple and gold of the Emperor's Children, mind you. It's white and black of the Luna Wolves. When he pulls him up, you have my thanks. Who are you? Tarek Torgadon, the leader of the Spearhead of the Luna Wolves. It's just, so cool. Sends shivers down my spine. I don't know why, but I really, really like stories like that, where it's just like, even though they're from different legions, you see that camaraderie, that almost brotherhood between them. And it's just so cool. But that will be the end of this part. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank everyone who supports the channel. If you want to join the Discord, link is in the description. If you want to join the Patreon or hit me up on Twitter, both of those links are also in the description. That being said, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!